our spirit? What is it? Where does it go? Are we able to see them using our mind's eye? If so, just what can spirit teach us? Welcome to School Through Spirit. Host DeEtte Renee is a certified psychic medium and master teacher of psychic and mediumship development through LWISSD. DeEtte was born knowing spirit and now is here to help you better understand the spirit world. And now your host, DeEtte Renee.
Everybody, this is DeEtte here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com. This is a show of which I talk about a lot of things of a spiritual nature. So first off, thing I do is I do start with a discussion of what Spirit has given me this morning, and we usually use the book. And believe it or not, Spirit gives me something in the head, and I flip open the book, and there it is, and it never ceases to amaze me. And then we go on to my guest. Now, my guest today is Miss Megan, and Megan is the witch of the infamous team, the Ghost Finders. They have been the longest streaming TV show in existence. They've actually just went into their 12th season, and she's also a makeup artist for the big movies. So that is who we're going to be talking to today. Now, today is a recorded version, guys. Yes, it is recorded. I apologize. As everybody knows, the station is coming to an end, and I had some guests I wanted to get in. So we are recording some of these shows. So this is the first of 2 recorded shows we're going to have. So I'm going to tell you happy Thursday morning, because that's the morning that this show is going to be airing. So let's look at the book. Going to do it like we always do it. Whoop, flip open. We're going to do 2 today, apparently, because they're getting simpler. It says, I love you. Do you know that? I want to read it just because, you know what? Somebody needs to hear this. I'm just going to show you this. We're going to flip the book twice, but here's the first one. I love you. Did you know that? I'll tell you what, that's beautiful, isn't it? I know I needed to hear it. I don't know about you guys. So let's flip again. Okay. I like this. So we're going to combine the 2 messages. So I love you. Do you know that? And then here's the second pages. And I'm going to read them. It says, you are not what you were. Isn't that kind of cool? Essential truth. You are not what you were, but are. And always will be what you are now. You have based your sense of worthiness on the past, while I base your worthiness on the future. That is where your life is, not in the past, the future. What you have done is unimportant compared to what you are about to do. How you have erred is insignificant compared to how you are about to create. All is emotion. All of life is motion. Everything moves. Therefore, nothing is the same from one moment to the next. Remaining the same or seeking to moves against the laws of life. This is foolish because in this struggle, life will always win. Change your ideas of right and wrong, your notions of this and that, your structures, constructions, models, and theories. Allow your deepest truths to be altered because your new idea of who you are is where your growth is. Your new idea of who, what, where, when, how, and why is where the mystery gets solved, the plot unravels, the story ends. Your new idea about all of it is where the excitement is, the creation is, where God in you is made manifest and becomes fully realized. No matter how good you think things have been, they can be better. No matter how wonderful you think your theologies, your ideologies, your cosmetologies, they can be full of even more wonder. Be open. Don't close off the possibility of new truth because you have been comfortable with an old one. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. For you are all in the process of becoming. You are all, and all through the experience of evolution. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. That is seriously mind-blowing in the least. And I will tell you what, this is something I have been working on. It's been quite, quite crazy what I have been working on lately. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people are, especially since these last energies have shifted us so dramatically. Um, and let's talk about some of that. I was chit-chatting with a friend of mine, Dan Norvell, last night about changes, just changes within ourselves, growth within ourselves, and how life has transpired. Now, I know for me, these, granted, we are always evolving, we are always changing, we are always a dynamic of something different. And a lot of times, I will tell you guys, I'm going to digress here a little bit. A lot of times, we like to believe that isn't happening. Why? Because a lot of times we get stuck in our day to day life. We get stuck in that we wake up Monday morning, we go to work, we work all day until 5, we go home, we stop, we do some errands, pick up the milk, pick up the bread on the way home. We get home, we make dinner, we clean up after dinner, we, help the kids, we get the kids to bed, we get to bed ourselves, we wake up and we do it again Tuesday. And all of that happens throughout the week. And then comes the weekend, and we tend to do a lot of the same things on the weekends. So, and many, many people are very happy with that. Many people are very happy with that. And others, that's not enough. Like myself, my life is forever changing. Every day is a little bit different. I never know where I'm going to be on the weekends, or I don't know where I'm going to be working. I don't know who I'll be working for today. Everything always changes. Everything's always evolving. And it doesn't matter if you have a life that is the same every day, or if you have a life that's changing. You are forever evolving and forever growing. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of times it is our thoughts, our attitudes, life experiences that change us. Even if you have that life that seems to be the same every day, your ideology changes, those thoughts change. How you view things, everything changes all the time. That's how we grow. That's how we become wiser. That's how, excuse me, that's how when, you don't have the same thought process as at 18 as you do at 40, is because evolution happens. Now, let's take that a little bit further, a lot further. Let's push the dynamics of this, okay? Because where I had started was I started talking, I talked to Dan Novell last night. And these conversations we had were, wow, they were mind-blowing. Because we did talk about the energies that have been going on. And the energies have been really crazy. Mine started with a lion's gate. Life had been simple, what I consider simple. And it had been, those wake up, take care of grandkids, do some readings, do some classes, an event on the weekend. All of that was simple. For me, same thing in, same thing out. Although, obviously, that changes all the time. Now, when I'm going into this, and what has changed is when those energies changed. When things happen that I never knew could happen. Things that pushed my comfort zone. Things that opened me up. Things that went, wait a second. I know where I've been, but where the heck am I going? And I will tell you what, that has been even pushed further with the station dissolving. And I can't tell you, as much as I wanted to cry over it, and I'm still sad over it, and I'm sad that I won't be here. Oh my God, I'm itching my eye. I'm not crying. I'll be crying next week. And sad that I won't be there every Monday morning and with you guys every Monday morning. It couldn't come at a better time. Why? Because a lot of changes have happened. A lot of growth has happened. And I do think it's time for me to move on, just as like it's time for you guys to move on. And to allow other things to come into my life, other things, other doors to open, other places to be, other shows to have, other platforms to have. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And that comes with an evolution. So often we go, oh my gosh, okay, sorry. Todd just realized that I was recording, but he's doing a live show right now as I'm doing a recording, and he has to take my banner down because apparently I put my banner up on their show, which is no big deal. So if the banner disappears, it's okay. Matter of fact, here, I don't know if I can remove it on this side. Maybe I can. I don't know. I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to just, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't know what I just did. We're going to go here. There we go. Still School Through Spirit, but I put the WLTK up there. So there we go. Then, or he'll take it off. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Anyway, so the evolution of different things are happening. Okay. And what I mean by that is, as we're evolving, as we're changing, as we're growing, as we start looking at tomorrow, at today and tomorrow, we start to release the past, which is pretty cool. And when I say that, it is because literally, guys, last week, and I guess by example is the best way I can do this, is last week I was gut wrenched. And I felt like it was day after day after day. I felt like I kept getting blows to my stomach. It hurt. Into right here, into that creative center of mine. It hurt. Oh my gosh, my show is going to be gone. Oh, what am I going to do? And I looked at the last 3.5 years and what I've been doing, and it hurt. It hurt that I was not going to be here. It hurt that maybe I was letting some people down. It hurt because I didn't know what tomorrow looked like. And when I started to become comfortable with that, and I thought, oh, I'll just start another one. I'll keep the same name and I'll start going and I'll just keep going with Podbeam. And Spirit went, no, that's going too. And that was another, oh, to my abdomen. I'll tell you what, it hurt. It was like, no, my whole past, everything my past is being erased. It's being taken down. And what am I going to be without having that? And then I came into this week. And I realized I am not defined by what I've done. I've showed up. I answered the call. I was here. But I cannot define myself by what I've done. I can, however, look into my future, what I'm going to do. And I can allow those doors to open. And I can, as they open, I can look in and I can see, is that where I want to go? If it's not, I can shut that door and I can open up this door and see if I like it and possibly walk through that door. And I have to begin to look at myself from a future standpoint. And quite frankly, because this beautiful show has been going on for 3.5 years, I'd stopped doing that. I'd stopped looking at what tomorrow was going to bring. And I was looking at the past. I was looking at the beautiful guests I've had on. I was looking at the 1,000+ people that were downloading the show every week. I was looking at where I've been, what I've accomplished. And over the last couple of weeks, actually over the last month or so, I've had the beautiful opportunity to look at myself and my self-worth. It's a hard one, guys. It's a hard one to look at yourself and your self-worth and go, what am I worthy of? And I learned I'm worthy of a lot. I'm worthy of doing a lot of things. I have this show, this platform, my past has given me, excuse me, I'm just all clogged up in my face here. I'm not sick, but it's just emotions. And this show has brought me into so many homes. And so many of those homes have come out to meet me. And they reach out to me and they tell me how they start their week with this show. And I've given them so much information. And thank you for showing up. And it gave me a sense that, wow, I'm more than I gave myself credit for. Something I never did before. And I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat as I am. We don't necessarily look at ourselves as being important or being valued to others, let alone ourselves. And over the course of this energy shift, over the last, I think 6, 7, almost 7 weeks now, it has worked a lot on my self-worth. It's looked a lot at making me focus on me, making me look at myself and the importance that I am to other people. Now, I'm not saying that from an egotistical standpoint by any means, because honestly, I will always state that I am only as good as my last reading. I'm only as good as my last advice. I'm only as good as the last time I connected with spirit, which always means I have room to grow. But I do know when I show up to the plate and I open up and I allow things to come through, that those are valued to other people. And that's where I put my self-worth. And I realized that all these mentors that I looked up to, all these amazing souls that I have watched doing the same thing, that are just incredible people, that I've showed up to simulate, to be like, to do the same as those mentors of mine, to show up and to allow the knowledge that I have, the love that I have to come through. And that has made me stop looking at my past and now look at my future. Because again, guys, I was only defining myself by one show. And I had to realize, for me to look into the future, for me to allow doors to open and not become stagnant, I had to give up the notion that I was only one show, that I'm a one-trick pony. And I have to think to myself, what is it do I want to be? What is it do I want to be tomorrow? Who do I want to evolve into? What thought process do I want? What convictions would I like to carry tomorrow? What growth would I like to have? What platform do I want to stand on? And with that, it starts to change the way we look at things. We start to change what our future looks like. And that's huge, isn't it? So many people tell me or ask me, DeEtte, how do you change? How do I change? I can't stand my life anymore. Oh my gosh, I feel so stuck. I don't know where I'm going. And you have to change the way you see yourself. That's how change happens, guys. So what you do is you take the knowledge, the wisdom of your past. You take everything that you go, wow, this is what I've learned. This is what I've experienced. And you pull that into a present day, right now moment. Pull it in. Sit with it. Look at it. This is who I am. This is what I've done. This is what I look like. And as you sit with this and you have now felt it all, now look at the person you would like to be in the future, because now you're taking all that information you have and you're sitting with it and you're going, wow, I'm not the person I thought I was. It's huge. And you sit with that, and then you look into that future and you go, who do I want to be? What do I want to experience? You allow yourself to put yourself into that future role. Now, this isn't a fantasy. This is taking you and going, oh my gosh, I want to travel the world now. I want to take all that I've learned to give and all that I've learned to trust myself. And I want to physically travel the world. And I want to stand on a stage. And I want to have discussions and talks from a stage with a mic set over my ear. And I want to talk to those 1,000+ people in person every week. I want to take the concept of this show and take it to the road. And I want to touch 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 5,000 people, 10,000 people every week. I want to have value to where I show up like this and I give that information. And then maybe even do some readings. But I see myself in a future view of what my future could be. And I grasp that and I say, okay, this is who I'm walking into. And I allow it to happen. And that's evolution. And that's when you start to realize I am no longer the person I used to be. I am only the person that I am now and the person I'm going to be. Because one day when we get wise enough, we look back and we go, I wish I could have the knowledge I have today in my 18-year-old body. How many people have said that? How many people have said, I wish I had the knowledge of today when I was younger and dumber? Well, I don't know about you. I never want to go back to my 18, 19, 20s. Oh my gosh. I like the age I am now. I like the wisdom I have now. And I'm going to love the wisdom I have tomorrow. So I want you to take some moments and I want you to look at that. I want you to look at your growth. I want you to look where you're going to. And that's not always easy, is it? That's incredibly difficult. And sometimes it's because we look at, oh my gosh, I can't see myself there. It's wrong to look at myself there. It's a hard thing to do. But I want you to take this week and I want you to explore those thoughts. I want you to explore the possibilities. Okay, with that being said, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I'm going to have Miss Megan with me. So I will see you in a few. This is DeEtte here with School Through Spirit on WLTK-DB.com. See you in a few. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is DeEtte with School Through Spirit on WLTK-DB.com. I want to welcome in Megan this morning. As I told you earlier, Megan is, she's a witch, but she's also the Good Finder, or the Good Finders. Oh my God, Rob's going to kill me for that one. The Ghost Finders, and a beautiful makeup artist. And her journey is just so vast that I wanted to bring her in and share her with you. Welcome, Megan.
Hello. How are you doing, gorgeous? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I love your setup. So beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi. I am so happy we were able to finally connect. I think I've been trying for 2 years now?
I know. It's been so busy for me the past couple of years. I've either been with the Ghost Finders traveling or working on set as a makeup artist. And all of last year, I was like pretty much since October to December on the movie The Bike Riders with Austin Butler and Tom Hardy. So that trailer just released. So you guys should check it out. But it was a lot of fun. So thanks for not giving up on me and my schedule. It's always wonderful to talk with you. So
I knew there'd be a strike sooner or later.
Right? Exactly. I'm kind of taking this time to just exactly connect with you guys, focus on my magic, spend some time at home, and also lots of commercials lately. So it's been good, but ready to get back into some narrative work for sure.
I love it. And the Ghost Finders is airing again, their 12th season, which is so magical. I love it. I can't wait to watch it. I sit from a background distance and I just go, wow, how far you guys have come, what you've done, what you're experiencing. It's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we did it for the love of it, and it's been truly wonderful just to see how it's developed over this time. And I think you can see our passion and hard work and how much we just care about spirits. And that's what's really taken us to where we are for sure.
It's amazing. So how did you get on this incredible journey of yours? I mean, you are paranormal, you are witchcraft, magic, and then you throw in makeup artist. You know what I mean? Where it's just kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
How did you start this journey between just the paranormal and the witchcraft?
So witchcraft has been a part of my life since I was very young. My grandparents were world travelers, and they also taught me the eclectic worldview with anything witchcraft and dealing with the spirit world, which was really awesome.
Okay.
So I had that like foundation. And over the years, I was a solitary practitioner. And then I just kept making connections and learn. Like, how would I say? I learned as I went.
Right.
And it was a lot of ritual work for me and self connection to spirit. And it's been truly beautiful. And that's pretty much like my witchcraft story. So I've always, the paranormal world was never scary to me. It was a part of nature, living and speaking with beings and things like that. So years passed, and I also did makeup as well, which for me kind of goes in with, you know, mixing potions and stuff like that to be all cheesy with it. But I love, as a makeup artist, to be able to help reveal somebody's inner beauty. So when I get to see their face light up in the chair or just get into character, there's a bit of magic to that as well. So I get a lot of joy from that. And with the ghost finders, so I was just being my little self. I also like worked at conventions and things like that. So I had a lot of friends in the industry that knew I was a makeup artist as well as a witch.
Right.
And Rob actually was recommended my name. I think originally from Cleve Hall, the Monster Man, if you guys remember that show from Sci-Fi. So he asked me to come and be a guest on the episode. And the first day we went and did everything kind of like the usual. And we didn't get a lot of results. And so I was like, okay, Rob, well, I know you guys asked me here, do you want to see my technique in like opening up the door and offering a friendly handshake and introduction with spirit? And so we did. And instantly during the day, we got so much activity, so many voices back. The lady of the house thanked us. Same with the staff, and it was remarkable. And after that, he was like, so would you want to be part of the show? And I was definitely, this is what I would do on my day off. So that's how it started. And here I am. And I'm just so thankful for every experience.
I was going to say, because you've been with them since season 7, correct?
Yeah.
It's been a long time. That's a lot. That's like 5 years. That's a long time for 5 years doesn't seem that long, but really in this and in the world of TV and shows, 5 years is quite a bit of time.
Oh, definitely.
You know, let alone the 12 that Rob's been doing it. So I love that. So do you do paranormal investigation outside of the show?
I do. I basically, if someone reaches out, like I've worked with Nick Groff a couple of times. He's absolutely wonderful. So I'm that person that I'm like, hey, if you ever need my help or if you want any like proper introductions to the spirits or help peering through the veil, I'm definitely available. So yeah, it just depends around my makeup schedule. So if I have an opening, I'm like I said, I'm that type of person. I'd be like, I'll do it for free, but let me know. Like,
let's go. Let's have fun. I know. I love it. And it's funny because as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about Dan and Hinsdale. And I'm finally going next year. Yes.
Finally. Oh my goodness. Yes. No, the Hinsdale house is by far my favorite. So I get so excited when anybody is saying they want to go. So I'm so excited.
It's so funny because I've been hard pressed to get there. Dan, when I'm over there, he's like, you need to stop by. I'm like, I don't have time. You know, And now I'm going there twice, like literally like, do you know who Mike Hatcher is by chance? He works with Paraflex.
Oh,
And yes. So Mike and I have a show together. So we're going to do a camp out whole thing, an event at Hinsdale House.
Amazing.
And then literally we're done. And another friend's walking in for an investigation with Shane Pittman and whatnot. She's like, are you coming for it? And I'm like, well, I'm there. I'll just leave the tent up and I'll keep sleeping.
Perfect. Yes.
I love it. I love it. So, when you go on to an investigation, how do you just do the investigation, or does a witchcraft come through, or are they separate entities?
They are one and the same. So whenever we get to a place, I like to kind of get a feel for it. And that happens when, and I'll describe a little bit about like my spidey sense and connection with spirits and stuff like that, because it's a little different. People have different ways to tap in. And this is just from like my experience when I was younger, and it's easier for me to do so. But I almost, instead of like seeing auras or whispers, I almost hear like music come from a place. Like, to me, people have like their own soul song. And when I'm like talking with the person, I can hear a little bit of their background music. And a lot of spirits are like that too. So I get to a place and I just take some time to listen, tap into those things, feel those emotions of the place. And then I'll make a formal gift or introduction to those spirits or that place to let them know our intentions, why we're here. We're here to tell their story. And when you personalize a gift, you know, it's a little bit more like, oh, okay, they are invested. They do actually care about me. And honestly, the conversations usually happen a lot easier instead of just walking into somebody's house and being like, hey, if you're here, slam this door or do this for me. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I would rather knock on the door, hand them a bouquet, introduce myself. I always introduce like our team as well. And that's how we usually start the investigation. And sometimes I'll do multiple rituals too for different entities or to help us connect through the veil. Sometimes, as we all know, like a spirit can be very interactive and there. And other times they might be a little bit more distant and it's harder to talk to them. So there's tools with witchcraft that we can use to connect that.
I love that, because so many times I talk to different investigators and they do go through with the same, you know, they might introduce themselves. They might just set up, you know what I mean? Everybody's got their own different technique. And I love yours because it's so soft. You know, it really is coming in. And I've watched it, I've witnessed it, which to me, it's beautiful to see that, you know, to come in from that avenue. With this, oh my gosh, I'm getting so discombobulated in my head. But with this, where have been some places where you've been that possibly you almost feel it didn't work, and you really had to say, oh my gosh, guys, and had to take more from you. You know what I mean? To open up that veil.
Yeah. Well, again, Hinsdale, I would say, is one of those places. I think it wasn't hard. It was a lot.
Okay.
So it was, if you watch the episode, I did multiple rituals throughout that day. It like took me all day. And I carried incense throughout the woods and the pines. And it took a few hours because it wasn't just one spirit I was addressing. There were ancients there. There were human spirits. There were spirits of the land. And there were also some that were like passing through. So it's, you kind of have to trust your instincts with things. And when you get the interactions back, and for me, why I love investigating with a paranormal team is you also get that equipment to give you that extra validation in that communication. Where else was a little difficult? I would say it's not necessarily, not difficult, but again, like just
extra.
You have to, extra. You want it to be even more professional in a sense. Penhurst was another place that was very layered and had,
That's a lot. I mean, these are names that not everybody know. I mean, Penhurst, everybody knows, and as large as Hinsdale is, and it seems to be the granddaddy of a lot of places that people want to go. It's still a place that people don't understand the different dynamics of it, and the multiple layers. And do you think because of the witchcraft, you're able to see the different layers a little bit more? And when I explain that, not everybody understands that when you walk into a haunted house, just because there's spirit doesn't mean all the spirits know that they're all there, because they're in those different dimensions or different timelines. So do you think that helps you?
Oh, definitely. I can say I can connect with spirit without witchcraft and ritual, but it definitely makes it easier. So when people are like, so why ritual and things like that? Well, a lot of it is symbolic. So even if I can't have a conversation with the spirit, like if there's a language barrier, they might not even be a human spirit, could be like fae, elemental, who knows?
Right.
But when you take that action and you put your intent and feeling in it, they understand that. They can see that. You're almost like a cheerleader, like, hey, we're here for you. This is an act of love. And so it definitely makes it a lot easier to tap in and communicate, because you're not just communicating with words. It's action, thought, intent, emotion all together. Like I'll even think of the words in my head. And then there's other situations too. On the episodes, you'll hear me speak in witch's tongue, which is backwards. And the reasoning behind that is because sometimes when the veil can be mirrored where a spirit is. So having that backwards, they can kind of see and understand it. But it's really interesting. Like, you don't treat all your friends the same. You don't want to go hang out with every single one of your friends in the same spot necessarily. So it's just different interactions with different spirits.
I love that. I've never heard of witch's tongue before. I've heard of tongues. I have friends that speak in tongue, and I'm always like, I'm looking at them like, oh, well, that's cool. But I've never heard of witch's tongue before. So that's something new for me. So thank you for that.
No problem.
But it makes sense to flip it to back. It totally makes sense.
And again, it's all symbolic. Like sometimes there's rituals like treading of the mill, where we will like walk backwards and speak backwards to kind of undo something. And it's just all like very well thought out. That's what like witchcraft is. You'll take a certain element that represents something or has a connection to a certain spirit, and it's so wonderful. I just love it.
I love that. Well, then I have a question for you, and it's more of a personal nature.
Yeah.
I had a reading this weekend, and they were using dragon cards, and they kept saying, oh my gosh, you've got like 9 fire cards. I'm all in fire right now.
Nice.
And I knew the wands, because the wands are all about knowledge. But I'm like, I kept thinking to myself, what is the fire? What is the fire? What, you know what I mean? And I'm like, and I walked away with more questions, because in my head, I kept thinking, what does the fire have to do with anything? I had a little bit of earth, a little bit of water, but all fire.
Well, fire's wonderful. And to kind of go over the elements and stuff real quick too.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question. With the show, you'll see me do a lot of earth magic and earth ritual, because that kind of ties into speaking with the dead or spirits. And fire magic is truly wonderful and beautiful. It is full of passion and instantaneous. That means a lot of these things might come about right now. If it was air magic, we kind of send that out into the universe and we say, hey, hold on to that until you know the time is right to bring that back. I think everybody knows if you've seen Practical Magic, good representation of some air magic. She did that when she was young and it came back to her at the time. That's right. Earth magic, you will put that either in the earth. It's either cleansing. It helps you build that foundation, tie into spirits. Water is very healing. It has a lot of emotion and stuff tied to it. But if you've got a lot of fire, that means I feel like there's going to be those changes happening, and it's going to be happening for you right now. And there's a lot of love, passion that's in it as well.
Okay. Well, that totally makes sense because I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get burned to the stake?
Yeah. Yeah.
My changes for the last 6 weeks have been like nonstop, and there's no change coming, no finish coming quite yet,
Yeah.
But it was really strange because it took me back to a past life of mine.
Ooh.
Because over the last 2 years, I've been doing a lot with past lives and a lot of witchcraft in past lives. They keep saying not this lifetime, but all over the past lives. And one of those I kept saying over and over in this because I was being hypnotized. I kept saying, I'm learning from the fire. I'm learning from the fire. I go back to the flame and the flame teaches me, so it took me back to that lifetime going, wow, this is just, it was beautiful to see that incorporated into this lifetime then, you know. So, well, who thought fire could teach you? But, I had a lot of conversations with people about that. And is that something that you ever do? Like, light a fire and learn from the fire or talk to the fire?
Well, most definitely. Fire scrying is a wonderful way. I use fire magic all the time, especially when I'm sending gifts into the veil too. That change of the chemicals and it burning and the smoke can penetrate into the veil and send those messages really easy. Let's see what else with fire. It's just beautiful. I use it every Samhain as well. I'll light my own bonfire, and I'll write letters to my dead loved ones, my grandparents, like I mentioned. I'll
Right.
catch them up every year, and then I'll put that into the fire because that helps send it out. And again, it's instantaneous. That's the word. So yeah, fire magic is truly beautiful. And I feel like having a balance of all the elements as well as like all of and everybody can use so many different words. I feel like we're speaking the same language, like our chakras, our energy, like that balance of your mind, spirit, and heart. Like that's what's truly important. So you'll see different chapters in your life where if you wanted to put an element on it or make it symbolic, like you're in your fire stage right now. You might have been in your water, like with your magic and emotions growing when you were younger.
Right.
So it's truly beautiful.
I think it is because, again, I walked away going, okay, I know nothing more from this reading than when I started.
That's how it is sometimes.
That's how it is. And you're just like, no. And I spent a lot of that way for a lot of years before I walked into my own abilities, getting readings, and they would tell me nothing. And I'd be like, they're like, you need to find out on your own. And I thought, is that what this is again? Oh my gosh, come on, give me some hint of what this is.
Yeah. Well, sometimes the reading itself and that question poses us to get into those thoughts and think over things and give us a new perspective, like from any kind of reading, or the cards will help us like, oh, I wasn't necessarily thinking of this, and it doesn't mean this is what's going to happen. We all know that for certain, but it is good to take a moment to kind of contemplate, oh, I might not have thought about this or this perspective, which is another reason why a lot of us witches, we definitely recommend keeping a book of shadows or a journal where we'll write down either our readings or our dreams. I've had some really significant dreams like over the past years where they were almost more vivid than real life, which was so interesting and cool. Like you wake up and you're like, okay, I might need to recalibrate a little bit. But I didn't know the meanings of them until maybe 5 years from then. And I would have these just unexplainable connections. And like, even with meeting fellow witches, it was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I would describe a dream. And they were like, that is this entity that I've been close with my entire life. And then we're kind of like, oh, I feel like this entity was reaching out to me because it wanted us to talk. And you just don't know those little, how would you say, the threads of fate weaving away. And sometimes you're like, I don't understand what's happening here. You have to take a step back to look at the beautiful tapestry. You know?
And I love how you explain that. I really do. So I want to go into those elementals because you've been talking about it. I truly believe the veil, they always say the veil thins a little bit more in October, getting closer to Halloween. I feel like I feel like from Lionsgate on, it's all but came down,
Yes.
and just that energy has just been so thin. I know my dreams have been insanely vivid, insane work going on. And I mean, that's something I truly believe in, but when we go into that elemental world, I know what my elemental world is, but when you talk about it, what does that mean to you?
That would be, I would say, tapping into the magic of all things. I feel like we're all connected, all of the elements and spirits. And when I'm talking to those elemental beings out of respect, I also, a way to explain it is like you have your different friend groups or your family and like your professional work. So with witchcraft and communicating, I can speak to the elemental spirits that are there.
Right.
And they can also, hey, let other spirits that they're with that I might not even be addressing. It's almost like a big communication board or like the internet. Like we're making a post with ritual and tagging people, and then they're also sharing it and letting us kind of connect and communicate more, because a lot of the elemental spirits will help talk to some of the human spirits too, and we'll have that interaction. So I would say it's a whole community with a lot of respect, and there is different, not necessarily a hierarchy,
Right.
but there's a different system with spirits, and you can, again, with that music that I'm talking about, you can feel those vibrations and you can feel, oh, this is where fire magic is needed. Oh, this is where I definitely need to use earth magic to help tap into those things and pay my respects with that.
Right.
Yeah, Palmyra definitely had so much fire magic there, and it was just a whole intense level. That would be a location that I would say had one of the most connections with fire and fire magic.
Yeah.
Um,
And isn't that one you guys recently did?
that was a few years
Or
ago.
was it a few years ago? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was truly wonderful, and a lot of the town had experienced inexplainable fires and stuff
Wow.
there.
Right.
So there was definitely some fire elementals and other spirits that were interacting, and the land itself was a bit uneasy. So it was very active
Right.
and had a lot of history there, like showcasing that, where it's like, this is a lot of coincidences. Maybe there is something more to it magically or so. Who
Right.
knows? But
I like that. I like the fact that because you are bridging, and we can use Hinsdale as it's weird because I know Spirit's going to wipe everything out of my brain right now because I'm going there next year. And I love that because I always go in blind. And if I hear about it beforehand, it just wipes out. I love how Spirit does. But let's use Hinsdale as that example because it does have, the spirit of the dead, but it also has elemental there, whether it be fairies or tree spirits or whatever. You know what I mean? When you're walking into something, whether Hinsdale or any place, do you find that sometimes you're working with more of the elementals than you are the people that are dead there, or getting more elemental energy than dead people energy? That
I
sounds, I
feel
feel so harsh in that question, but
no, you're fine. That's cool. And these are the questions like we need to be asking each
yeah,
other, like I would say I always feel and address the elemental spirits no matter where I am,
right.
just because they're an extra guardian and I've had a connection with them for a
Right.
long time where I might just be meeting this human spirit. So I definitely address and acknowledge them everywhere I go. But sometimes they're like far away. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. You guys do your thing. We're good. And it's like,
Right.
okay, thanks. And then I'll just talk more so with that human spirit.
Mhm.
And then other times, yeah, like if the human spirit has either gone through a lot emotionally, having that extra backup of the elemental spirits so they can see our relationship we have.
Right.
That speaks for itself. And then they will also be like, oh, okay, I do feel more comfortable to speak to this team and these people, because that's a whole other side conversation that's happening. And that just takes time and relationship and respect with spirits and all around you. Like, everything you do and say like has a little bit of magic or yourself in it. So your actions and your emotions ripple throughout the world. And I feel like that also gets put in your energy. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your
I
question.
think it really does, because it's moving into that, that realm. And I love speaking with you because, again, I always tell people I live in two worlds. And they go, well,
Yes.
what do you mean two worlds? For myself, I was airy fairy for a lot of years, which is the psychic mediumship. It's fairies, it's fun, it's joyful, it's, very lighthearted.
Yeah.
And then I bridged into this paranormal world, which most people want to put as dark and heavy and scary and spooky,
Right. Isn't
And
that sad? It's not spooky to
it's
us.
not. It's unknown. It's unknown.
Mhm.
And people don't realize stuff happens during the day just as well as it does at nighttime. You don't necessarily have to wait for it to get dark for the spirits to come out.
Exactly.
But I love how you're talking about this, and you're bringing both, you are exactly what I say I am. I am both worlds that come together. As I sit here, I can't sit in an airy fairy conference and not allow my paranormal to come in along with my elementals, because they are all in one. And
Yes.
I do believe that where you're talking and where you're sitting at, that almost feels like it's become a platform for you to say, you know what, this veil is there. We are all living as one, whether it be in the living or in a different dimension. I don't even want to put the living or the dead, because quite honestly, that dead is just another dimension. It's just another aspect of living, and you are just basically stating that we're just looking at different levels of beings, or different levels of dimensional levels or awareness, and putting
Definitely.
it into one. And I do believe that, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I just feel like I'm on a tangent now. When you go back to the time when elementals were living with us, we're walking hand in hand with them, and before humans decided to get very arrogant, to where that veil had to come down. I
Mhm.
do feel like we might be walking into a time that veil might get lifted, dissolve, and say, hey, we're back together as one again.
I love that. I feel that as well. And I feel that we should try to walk that way, for our own sense of self and just connection with all things. I can say that I, as a person, have felt like I've grown and become exactly what I've always wanted to. And my actions and thoughts and stuff and witchcraft and just that perspective. And it can be different. I always say too that people should relate and connect with something that really means to them.
Right.
In other words, like, there's not one right way to do it, and to personalize it makes it even more meaningful. So if I'm following ritual, or
Right.
like if I'm baking cookies, and I know who I want to gift these to loves cinnamon, I might put a little bit more cinnamon in my recipe to personalize it.
Right.
And I encourage other witches, practitioners, like, if something has a lot more love in it for you, doing that is actually what I would say, that's the right way to go. You don't have to be so stressed about doing it perfect, or just connect with it. Where do you feel that peace and connection with spirit? So that's been like my path, and I love it. And I've come across so many people around the world with different techniques, and it's so cool to see them interacting in the same way.
Right.
And that's another reason why I love always doing these paranormal investigations as well, because these little findings that we have, it's like, oh, isn't that so cool? Wow, sure is crazy. All these coincidences over all of this time. It's like it works or something. Who
Right. Yeah. I love how you state that, Now, you keep talking about rituals.
Yes.
Okay, you keep talking about rituals, and I know in myself, I fight with per se the witch energy in me. I fight with it all the time. Okay. And it's not that I don't want it to come in. It's I keep hearing it's a different lifetime. It's a different lifetime. But with that being said, I do a lot in my mind that I go, oh, get that back. You know what I mean? Because I do know that power of my mind is really that thought, that intention is enough to make almost per se something explode if you're angry, or something sparkle when you're happy, and I have a lot of that, and so I always look, and people have looked at me, they'll go do rituals. I'm like, why are you doing rituals? You don't need to do ritual. You know what I mean? Like, just use your mind. But rituals are needed. And where is your take on more rituals versus less rituals, or allowing yourself to have more? Does that make sense?
Totally. And again, to go back, like, you don't necessarily need it,
right?
Every single situation. And we do magic, and we make that connection with everything we do. So you're totally right. You're totally right. Trust me, when I'm in different situations on set, or when we're filming in some haunted locations, and I'm a makeup artist, I'm not going to be doing ritual, but I'll be like using magic with myself to either kind of be like, hey, yes, let's talk later, maybe on the dreamscape, or blah, 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 blah. But again, going back to what I said earlier with ritual, it's symbolic. And so it's just extra fancy. You can always grab a coffee and have a wonderful conversation with a friend anywhere, right? But ritual sometimes is a little bit more formal. So that's me bringing out the fine china, brewing some tea for that person, and being like, this is your coffee. This is a lot of thought and care put into it. And so that's really all it is. I like to do it at big locations just to cover my bases. But is it always needed? No, not necessarily. And with the world, and especially the spirit world, it's a whole world of gray. Nobody knows for certain all of these things, and we're all just going with our best intentions and what we connect with. So yeah, like, you don't need ritual work. Do I love it? Yes. I find that it really helps put that extra little bit of love and care into things, most definitely.
I love that. I keep seeing, I know in your world you should know this movie, but maybe you don't. Halloween Town. It's coming up. The series.
Yes.
And as you're talking, I'm literally seeing images of that movie, because, Debbie Reynolds in that movie literally goes, witchcraft is just about wanting it and allowing yourself to happen. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's that beautiful. But then she turns and teaches them a spell that has ritual and this and that to do something grander. And in my head, I go, but which is it? Which is, I'm like, which one do you want me to do?
Oh, that's perfect. I love that you said that, because my mind just like clicked. Okay, so let me put it this way. If you're going on like a big job interview or something, or you're trying to get your mind focused for a test, it's kind of like dress for success. You want to put yourself in that mindset when you're doing something. And it helps like focus your mind sometimes. And a lot of the tools as well help you tap in. So it's just kind of turning up the volume, or making it more formal, like I said, or helping your mind focus. But do you absolutely need it? No. And that's been shown on the show as well. Like, there's been times where I will just go into full ritual or call forth spirits, and I'm like holding a K2, and you'll see it max out when I'm calling forth these energies, which is also super cool.
That's super cool.
I'm like, I never do this on my own when I'm like at home with spirits. I'm always just connecting with them. So that technology is awesome. But yeah, so it's a good way to help you focus. Like, if you were going to do a dance routine, you would want to put on your dancing gear and kind of help focus your mind, and like, all right, it's game time. Let's do this.
I like that. I love that explanation. That completely makes sense. And I think a lot of people are going to go, okay, now I get it. Now I get it, And I understand why I don't do a lot of risk. It's because I'm I've always been, I think I'm born in the wrong era because I'm an instant gratification person. Right now, I'm not going to journal forever. I mean, I'll journal for today, probably not tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know what I
I'm
mean?
inconsistent too. Trust me. I love doing like some voice notes.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll keep that till when I'm like, all right, now I'm in a writing mood. Also, I always want it to be very pretty before it makes my book of shadows. So
Yes.
I don't want to just like
Yep.
right when I
Yes.
wake up. We all struggle with those things. But yeah,
Yeah.
what connects with you? So everyone out there watching, like there's not just one way to do it. There's so many different beautiful techniques and strengths. Some people might be more inclined to do gymnastics and stuff
Right.
like that. And others might be more inclined to do like strength weightlifting. Like just go with what feels right in your heart and comfortable. But
Love
the
that.
thing that I say in the show too is just make sure your emotions and your intent are in the right place. You don't want to go and do these things with any sort of fear or negative emotion, because you're trying to connect on that conversation and you're putting those energies out. And so sometimes, like if you're meeting a new friend and you're like, hi, and you're a little apprehensive of them, they're like, oh, hi. And it makes them more awkward and scared. So
Yeah.
that's just my advice with it. Go in, know who you are, connect with what you feel safe and loved,
Mhm.
and then put that out.
What advice would you give to somebody that's per se new to this? Not Well, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. When
Mhm.
I first realized that this magical world existed, it was really not that many years ago. Not that you're not doing it your whole life, but when that light bulb goes off,
Yeah.
I can remember having a coworker. I was like, oh my God, if I have to look at her one more time, and I can remember one day at work going, I just pray she doesn't just get in an accident. Don't die. Just get in an accident so that you can't make it to work today is all I could think. Just something simple. And she didn't show up that day. She didn't show up for over a week. And I
Whoa.
didn't know what it was. I forgot all about my thought. A
Mhm.
week later, she shows up. I'm like, where have you been for a week? And she goes, oh, my boyfriend got in a car accident with my car. He rolled it. No injuries, no anything, but the car was out of commission and she wasn't able to get and I went, what did I do? Literally, what did I do? So it's made me very conscious of my thoughts. Like I pull back if I get that name. Oh no, yank that back, because I do know that has power. But
Yes.
what do you give that to somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, that they're literally don't realize the being that they are and what they can create? So what advice do you give to people for that?
I always say you definitely want to start with what we call shadow work. Again, it sounds spooky, but it's not. It's
Right.
self-reflection, right? So
You
before
a
you,
nice way of putting shadow work.
yes, yeah, it's a lot of looking into all aspects of yourself, the
Mhm.
like light and dark, getting to know everything about you. Like, and we do this with like all of our studies, like knowing our id and our wants and things like that. And when you can understand, okay, these are my emotions and the reasons behind it, you
Right.
just exactly know thyself. Get
Right.
to know yourself, where you are. I love you asking that and bringing that up, because I'll joke too. There are some times where I'm like, okay, I really do want to channel my Vulcan self,
Mhm.
because my emotions
Yeah,
and that magic and intent, it's a thing.
it is.
Exactly. So a lot of meditation, a lot of shadow work, or we're just getting to know what's the reason why. Why do
Mhm.
you want to do this? Do you want to truly connect with spirit and understand more about yourself and that connection with the afterlife and things? Or are you wanting to do it for maybe reasons that are a little bit more towards ego? I don't know. Or self. It can all be those things. And that's not even necessarily bad at all. You just want to know the reasons. So I would say starting with just journaling, and putting your intent in things to start small. So,
Okay.
like you're saying,
Right.
this actually happened to me too. And I love using magic, especially with people in the car.
Right.
Small. where if you're driving, you're like, oh, okay, going back to coffee. But if
Right.
you're like, I really want a coffee and there's nowhere to stop, just focus on, okay, there will be somewhere we can, and throw that out into the connection and the universe. And visualizing your imagination helps send that out, which also visualizing, strengthening your mind, like we talked about, ritual work
Right.
helps send that out. So almost imagine like a red thread going out from your spirit into the world to kind of connect you with that and send and focus that out. And you'll start to see, oh, these little synchronicities are happening and
Right.
things like that. But my advice is, when you are sending that out,
Mhm.
always check first where you are with your emotions. And magically, if you're grounded and you feel like that, there has been some days like too, if I have a lot going on in myself and somebody's asking me for a reading
Mhm.
and I might not be able to give them all the full focus or my emotions there, I'll be like, I definitely want to, but I want to wait for a certain time where everything is connected well. So yeah, I would say that's my advice. Meditation, focus, and start small. And then do your research. There's so many wonderful books out there.
Mhm.
Obviously, love Patty Negri's so
I
much.
love Patty. I love
Amazing.
Patty.
She has wonderful books out there for beginners and to help you like and even like witches who've been doing it for years. But
Mhm.
check out some of her books. And then I loved reading a lot of the grimoires from the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic in Cornwall. You can
Right.
find those on Troy Books from the UK.
Mhm.
They have a lot of good history and stuff in there. Jim McGarry was a big influence and stuff for me for witches and with ritual. That is kind of like, I would say, give it a while before you get to Jim McGarry stuff.
Right.
Like traditional witchcraft is like, all right, we're going to do this in the woods with our fire and really connect with this. So it's pretty gritty, but I love it
Right.
because I feel the closest to it. And that's
Right.
just me. So find
I
what
love
magic works for you. Yeah.
I love the fact that you're giving other names out there because for myself, honestly, until like I met you or, a few other people,
Mhm.
Lori Cabot was the only witch I knew about.
Yeah.
And not to say she's not amazing. It's
Right.
just she was the only one I knew about. And I'll give you a little story about Lori because I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Growing up and then hit my 20s and getting into ruins and really, which is my world, not the witchcraft world, but Lori's face kept popping up in that beautiful picture, with the bird. And I would just, in awe, I would stare at that picture for hours and just intrigued by this woman. And then one day I was in Salem, about probably 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And I'm walking the streets of Salem and I walk in this store right off the water and the door shuts behind me and there's this t-shirt with that picture and my back hit the door and I looked around and all I seen was witchcraft everywhere.
What?
Old school. And I went, I was terrified against the door. I'm like, I couldn't move. I was like, what did I just walk into? And the clerk, this gentleman looks at me and he goes, can I help you? And I'm like, right now I'm scared. And he's like, let's walk you through. He goes, why are you scared? I said, because that picture's too close.
Yeah.
And this was a woman I've been staring at. And he starts giggling at me, giggling. I go, what is I'm terrified. He's like, Lori's the sweetest love. Do you want me to go get her?
Yeah.
And I went, what? And he goes, she's upstairs right now. I'm like, no way. And I was so scared that I said no. Although I enjoyed her, I ended up enjoying her shop and he walked me through it. It was such a beautiful experience because he taught me what all these beautiful things were and what they were meaning.
Yes.
And that TV really gave him a bad rap. But
Mhm.
I always regret the fact that I didn't take that opportunity to meet Lori that day, you
Yeah.
know. But what has there any ever been that in your life where you've been scared to meet somebody? You're scared to, you see something, you're like, whoa, this is just too much for me. I mean, even though you were born in this world and
Yeah.
came into it, did you ever go, not today, not today, Jesus?
That's a good question. Huh. I would say there was one spirit that was a very, very, he was a very grumpy spirit. He was also inhuman. And it was basically like, do not wake the sleeping bear. And the location of it was a graveyard. It was a church that had been abandoned because of crazy, weird paranormal stuff. And so I went to this location with a few others, and you could just feel like almost like, and it was just very dangerous.
Right.
And I got close to the graveyard and I felt that amplified even more so. And that was the only time that I was like, hey guys, we're actually going to not, let's kind of be like, hey, respect to you, and let's slowly back away. Would I go back there? For sure, I would say, but there's just a time and a place. That's the first that comes to mind. As far as like a person, I'm not sure. I was definitely really excited to meet Patty, but I also was like, "Woo, okay, I have a little bit of a jelly belly. All right, cracks knuckles. Let's do this." So just because, you know, when your heart is in a place and you have a lot of care, you're like, "Oh, okay, let's put even more love." But there's definitely been times on set in the real world. We talk about two worlds. I feel a little bit more comfortable with spirit and stuff, but in the real world, I'll be like, I'll have to walk into a makeup trailer and be like, okay, there's a lot of big names in here. I'm just like this tiny blonde like person that's going to do her best and be there with a smile. So I'll definitely have to exhale and just pull some strength and put my intent out. And I will definitely be using that in every day of my life and focus on that. Or like with time, I'll try and be like, okay, let me tap into this. And I'm like, whoa, how did you do that so fast? And you're like, oh, just a little bit of magic, jokingly, but not. Yeah.
I love that. Now, we have talked so much about your magical world and the paranormal world. I do want to bridge into that, the real world. I don't know. I don't even want to call it the real world because it's just the world we're in right now.
Exactly.
But how do you focus in this other world? Because obviously you're walking in and you've got pink hair, and I know notoriously you wear black. You know what I mean? It's just, it's beautiful. And I know you are who you are on camera, off camera, or wherever you're at. But how do you walk into some of these trailers with these bigger names? And they're kind of, I mean, they got to be looking at the lady that's wearing black every day and they have some amulets and they're going, should we be nice to her today or not? You know what I mean? Like, how do you sit in that world? You know, are they just used to different things?
A lot of people are very open-minded and used to different things. And I obviously am very aware where I am and where I'm working. And I'm still true to myself. And thankfully, a lot of makeup artists also wear black and stuff too. But I think that, especially over time, people who are more apprehensive and are like, okay, who's this weirdo? It does take more energy through action, through emotion to showcase, oh, okay, she's nothing to be scared about. So sometimes, yeah, to answer your question, it can be a little bit more draining doing that in the real world or filming in haunted locations. And I'm like, love you guys, spirit, but right now, this is the job I need to be doing, is putting some blush on. I can't answer these questions. So sometimes I'll have, you'll have to learn to switch. And this is where meditation helps and shielding and stuff too. You can nicely say, the phone, I'm hanging up now. We're ending this conversation. I do feel like that is important and good advice to give too. If people are experienced, like, actually the magic world and spirit world is interfering with the real world for me. What do you go? You do kind of want to keep them separate, but also together. And there's these little things, just formally hanging up the phone on the spirit world and then picking it up. Here's now the time to talk. But yeah, your imagination and the strength of your mind and your intent, it's what it all gets rooted back to. And I think you find that in magic and just a bunch of different techniques over the world. Like, and we're all talking about the same thing, giving it a different name. Like, people would even be like, The Secret, you know, that's just
that there's no secret.
Yeah, there's no secret. That's the power of thought, intent, magic, connection.
Yeah. I always think that do you know who Mike Dooley is?
I know that name. Paint a face.
He is he's when you look at him, he's like the ultimate nerd, stereotype nerd.
Yeah.
But his thoughts become reality. He is that gentleman. He does thoughts become reality.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
His whole platform is thoughts become reality. And he's never, for all these years, he's never changed off of it. I mean, he's an entire empire. And I always think he doesn't realize how much of a witch he is. You know what I mean? And what he's teaching people. And I personally love Mike Dooley because it's probably where I really started my thoughts. And, when you look back, you have all of these different starting points, but it is that thoughts. It is realizing what the thoughts create. It's and putting that intention out there. And really, it only takes a few seconds. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to take hours upon hours or weeks. It's seconds. It's a moment, which I love.
Yeah.
So now, do you presently do readings for people also? I know you kind of stated it.
Yes, I do. I don't do it, how would you say it, very often. They're usually personal. I will make a connection with a person or a friend. So I don't do them. I've never done readings and stuff online before, which would I be willing to do that in the future? Yes. I am also such an old school. I am hilarious, and it is infamous that I am not technologically inclined at all. So I would maybe want to do that in the future, but the readings that I feel like I can get a lot from are lithomancy readings. So the witch that taught me that at Laughing Brook Spellcrafting and Ancestral Arts, we actually had a shop here in town years ago where we would as a community come and teach each other. And my brother, Frankie, I call him my brother, fellow witch, he's the one who is the creator of the card at the crossroads.
Oh, okay.
And so he's really good with his herbs and mixing things. So he's making these traditions straight out of the grimoires of old. And like my grave water that I will use in ritual to help me connect. My brother Frankie makes that. But anyway, so we would work together and tap in to that community. Sorry, I just started reminiscing. What was
I love
question?
it. Keep it going.
So
I asked about readings, but no, keep going because it's beautiful.
So we're wanting to start a shop up and coming and stuff soon.
Right.
But yeah, so the witch who taught me these readings, we get a bowl of black sand and we draw a spiral in it, and then we'll cast our stones, and you can get a really good, clear reading as far as time goes. Wow. She told me years and years ago, the week that a female producer would give me a call and I would start traveling. And it happened completely like that. Another instance, a friend of mine, she does costumes. I gave her a reading with lithomancy. And I was like, okay, it's not relationship or romantic at all, but in 4 months, I see some sort of break. Right. All I keep hearing and seeing is break, and it will affect you financially. And she told her boyfriend, like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's not romantic. It was like, oh, okay. Right. The month passed. She actually broke her leg and she was okay and stuff. And she was like, Megan, I totally tucked some stuff away because I can't be working on set for the next couple of months. So thanks for the heads up. Right. So that's why I do enjoy lithomancy readings sometimes. And there's a time and a place for all. Like I love tarot, or just even to hold someone's hand and get a reading from them, which you are so beautifully skilled at. It was so wonderful to see you in Henricus and just feel your energy and magic, So yeah, I would love.
That was the right time at the right place, because who knew?
You were called to be there for sure.
That was not anything anybody expected, and especially not me. So that was beautiful. But that, again, that's my world. That's my world of that. But for myself, I'm always looking for that person that does readings in a different way, that's beautiful at it. And You know what I mean? To have more, there's so many different ways of doing readings. And, just a couple of weeks ago, I did my first coffee ground reading for somebody. I'd never done it before. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. So I went to do it on me. I drank a cup of coffee and I went, there's virtually nothing in there, it was just like, there's so much starting point all over again, so, but it's incredible to hear the different type of readings and that you still do those at the right time, at the right places.
Oh yeah.
I'm hoping someday in the right place at the right time with you to have one, because they sound amazing.
Oh, definitely. I would love that. And again, just with my career and stuff, I'm kind of just finding when I have time to do things, and in the magic and makeup world, I'm trying to find that balance, just like with the real world and the spirit world, which is all in one. But I'm very thankful, and I feel like the threads of fate have been just weaving things for myself at the right place and the right time, and connecting me with people who I feel that have the same intent and energy and magic too. And I'm just excited for the future. And I love the beautiful multiverse that we have of magic and paranormal groups all working together and giving each other love. I feel like that's important.
I love it. So how can people come and follow you and find you and watch your progression, watch what you're doing?
Definitely, you can check us out on Paraflix. We have a bunch of the seasons of the Ghost Finders there. We're also on the Spirit Channel on Roku, Apple TV. I think we have more on our Amazon Prime in the UK currently than just in Prime now. And there's a ton of different places you can reach out and see us, and give us a contact on our Instagram too. You can reach out to me, just Megan Deputy. We also have the Ghost Finders channel. Ask us anything magic related, paranormal related, and we will answer any questions and just welcome you to our paranormal family. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Ms. Megan, for joining me today and sharing your story and so much information. It's been incredible. I thank you so much, For everybody else, we're going to take a quick station break, and I'm going to come back to wrap everything up. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Megan.
Anytime. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes Method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK-DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5, and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
Hey everybody, just a quick reminder before I do the end credits. Again, you can find me live again on Monday. Remember, that's with Jody Jacobson. This program with Megan, as you know, is Thursday airing. And I'd like to say thank you to everybody that has been here to show up today. And that's going to see me Monday. We're going to continue the witch journey with Jody because, as you know, she's a second-degree cabinet witch, and it'll be interesting to see her take on things. So thank you, everybody. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.